What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Gary Numan, and we're continuing through Dance 1981. I did want to give a shout out to Wayne once again, who's tried to send me a CD, but there was some issue with the third-party seller, and I guess they contacted him and said they can't send it, or it hasn't been sent, the order was canceled. There were some comments about the quality of the audio files. I actually went and downloaded another version of the album, and to my ears, I can't hear any difference. Either way, I didn't know if the person who had commented on that is aware that, I do these reactions room sound. So I think the quality of the sound isn't maybe as bad as they thought. It's just kind of the format that I do for these audio reactions. So either way, I'm going to tentatively proceed with this album because I don't want to let it sit for too long. And at some point, if I can get a CD, I'll rip it. Though, again, when I rip CDs, I rip them into 320 kilobytes per second MP3 files, which is exactly what this rip of the album is. In any case, bear with me and know that when I do these reactions, in the day or two after I do them, I always listen in headphones, in my own capacity. So it's not like I won't be able to hear these tunes in a fuller, more immersive respect. In any case, the second tune on the album, Dance, is called Night Talk. I wonder, certainly there's a time and an atmosphere, visual or setting that is being given to us, night as opposed to day, and then talking at night in some way distinct from talking during the day or talking in the light. So yeah, I wonder if Night Talk is, let's say, more racy talk. I wonder if it's talk that is under cover of darkness, meaning not things you would say out in society or at work during the day, and thus things that are maybe more reflective of your own urges or desires or secret wishes. So it is a bit of a cryptic phrase, and ultimately it's only two words, which, there's no larger context given to us in the title. I'll try to pay attention and see what I can catch on a first listen. This is Gary Numan. The track is Night Talk, and it's from his 1981 album, Dance.
to play. Boys like me aren't supposed to cry, but it's so easy to do. Boys like me aren't supposed to cry, but just look at you. Night talk. Oh, say night talk. That don't cry. Night talk. Guys, night talk. Boys like me, guys, night talk.
I feel like you shouldn't fade if he's doing little vocal flares like that. Which is funny, because, like, in general, his vocal stylings here aren't terribly different than the previous couple albums, but I feel like he is being slightly more expressive, like a bit less android sounding in a couple moments, including that moment as it faded there at the end. It's interesting. Sonically, it gives me a bit of, like, dystopian vibes. Like, first of all, there's a couple synths that sound like alarms or sirens on police vehicles. And then the idea of, you know, talking at night and boys doing what they're not supposed to, even if it's like just crying. It seems like there's a bit of a, like, you know, we're doing something that's outside expectations or societal conformity. And, you know, again, if you are in a dystopian world, you know, the only place you can really express your thoughts are maybe at night when, you know, the bright light of day isn't cast upon you and things are easier to see. And also there's like this low, wicked, like synth-based current that was going through the track, and that had a bit of an edgy, you know, dire, things are in a bad place type of feel. Though I will say, like, rhythmically, you know, it did have a, you know, kinetic energy, and it did have a bit of a danceable rhythm, though it doesn't strike me as like a dance floor track per se, but still, it wasn't like, you know, heavy and morose. It still had like a groovy rhythm to it, though again, with a bit of a like dark feel overall, which I guess that does fit with the idea of Night Talk. But yeah, it seemed like he was saying, like, you know, it's easy to cry if you're a boy, maybe like him, even though that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So again, maybe related to like societal expectations and the idea of feeling like you don't quite fit in because conformity or doing what is expected is not as easy as it might seem, or it's easy to depart from that even if you're not supposed to. So yeah, there were some lines in the first like minute or so that I didn't hear fully because it felt like his voice kind of, it grew in the mix. At first it was sort of like the other sounds were around his vocals and they were sort of underneath, not buried, but just kind of like within this larger soundscape. And then again, as the song went along, it felt like he came to the front a little bit more with his vocals. But yeah, definitely like similar vibes as the previous couple albums, though I do feel a bit different, so we'll see how that goes. Again, it's only the second track on the album, so not a huge sample size to assess that from, but definitely getting a bit different of a feel as this album begins to play out. So, as I said, I'm going to keep going through this. At some point, hopefully I can get a CD, and again, thank you to Wayne for trying. And I did get, you know, you recently sent an email, but the link, like, it didn't go to the tracks themselves. It again went to like a title file, like it wasn't actually the tune. So maybe we can figure this out at some point, but for the meantime, I will go through this. Let me know what you think, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.